Okay, Kurt, tell me a little bit about, first of all, what you think about the layout here. What do you think about the process? You think this is something that's good for the community?
I think it's very good for the community, and I think it's great that we came to a venue that can hold a lot of people, get a lot of discussion, get a lot of different ideas. And what I'm really hopeful is that once the ideas are summarized and put together, that each of the ideas will be really clearly thought about and give us some really good attention.
And I know you've been thinking about some ideas yourself. Do you want to talk about some transportation alternative concepts that you have?
Well, I live in Rancho and I drive every day, use the toll roads a lot. But I think one of the most realistic things that I've seen, and I've even looked at maps and taken a look, is to extend the 241 down south, down to the south part of the landfill, and then go due west to the I-5. And I think it's a little bit south of Lenovia. And the essence is that there are no homes, no businesses, and I think it would be a great idea to cut it straight across to the I-5, due west from the south of the landfill.
Perfect. Any other thoughts transportation-wise and traffic relief-wise for South County? Is it needed? Is traffic relief needed in this area?
I think it's growing. I've lived in Rancho for 23 years, and the traffic is getting worse. It's not getting better, and I love the fact that there are going to be options. And I think that's key to the people coming in. Just driving down here on La Pata, I'm seeing homes being developed, and I think it's going to maybe extremely increase the number of people using the highways and the byways and getting from north to south and east to west a little bit. Very important, very important.
Perfect. Thank you much, sir. Appreciate it. All right. Okay. Okay, Nancy, first of all, what do you think about this transportation forum that we're having here tonight?
I think it's wonderful, and the more communication that we can have between the people in the community, the better we're all going to be.
And one of the things they're looking at tonight is for folks to come up with transportation solution ideas, and we really want to have this be a bottom-up approach where we're listening to the community. Do you have any thoughts or ideas regarding transportation solutions?
Well, my favorite one is to put the 241 through, and I've been waiting for that since the early 80s when I was in Washington, D.C. and saw the plan for it on our congressman's wall. So that's always been the solution.
And Nancy, can you just give me your name and the city that you live in?
Yes. Nancy Hunt. I live in San Clemente for the last 40 years, and I work for Keller Williams. I'm an owner, partner of Keller Williams in San Clemente.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to say?
No, let's do it.
Thanks, Nancy. All right. Well, let me get your thoughts about transportation solutions.
Should I look at you or the cameraman?
Just look at me.
All right. I really want to say that I really appreciate this event tonight, and it gives me the opportunity to make a statement that I would like to make, and it has to do with the definition of the problem. It looks like there are a lot of people here that are going to spend a lot of energy on solutions, but I think the key problem that may be overlooked is the fact that when you look out there and see 1,000 cars on the 5 sitting still, you don't see more than about 1,500 people, because there's mostly one person in each car. I think that's a key part of the problem. I'm not going to even come up with the solutions. Obviously, the first one that would come to mind would be carpools or mass transit. I'm not here to define the solution. I just want to make sure the problem gets well defined.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me get your name and what city you live in.
I'm John Kaiser, and I live in San Clemente. The freeway is a half a block from my house.
Wow. All right. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Thanks. Okay, first let me get your name and what city you're from.
Hey, my name's Gary Albert. I'm from San Clemente.
Okay, and let me get your thoughts about the transportation forum and any ideas or solutions you might have.
Hey, well, South Orange County definitely has a problem with traffic. However, I am opposed specifically to one idea that is on the plan, and that's Idea 13, that dissects San Clemente.
Okay.
I live just a few blocks from where they want to put that toll road, and it will devalue our properties. The traffic noise is already to a point that's almost intolerable in our neighborhood, and that's pretty much why I oppose number 13. Every other idea looks good on there to me. The construction, the build out of Rancho San Clemente or Rancho Mission Viejo is good. And the proposed ideas on Ortega Highway, Cow Camp Road, I'm all for. 13, no.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Okay, let me get your name and what city you're from.
Yeah, I'm Lou Shepard, and I live here in San Clemente.
Okay, and if I could just get your thoughts about tonight's transportation forum and any ideas for solutions you might have.
Yeah, first of all, people need to speak about the issue and not give any characterization of defeat of one side or the other until we get to the end of the process. But in my opinion, we made a huge error by not extending the toll road back when it was proposed, I don't know, 10 years or 15 years ago, and we should do that now. And it would be a horrible mistake to come down La Plata and come down Pico or any of that when there is a way to go through territory that's completely uninhabited, that will not bother anybody, and hook up to the 5 freeway. One final thought. Los Angeles County is looking at a 1% increase in the sales tax. The 5 freeway between downtown Los Angeles and the 605 was intended to carry 150,000 cars a day. Today it's 250,000 cars, and in the very near future, 15 years or so, they're talking about 500,000 cars. And if we're not going to really solve the problem dealing with that kind of issue, then our head is in the sand, because they're talking about adding another 50 or 70,000 dwelling units into this general vicinity anyhow. So we need to be realistic. Another thought, people keep talking about public transportation. At 5 and 6 units per acre, you don't have enough density to justify public transportation economically. You need to get up above 25 units, maybe even 30 units per acre in order to deal with that. And we're not going to have public transportation until we have that kind of density. And if we don't have that kind of density, then we've got to recognize that surface streets and freeways and so forth are the way it's going to go. And that's my opinion.
That's perfect. Thank you very much. First, let me get your name and what city you're from.
Bill Strand, San Clemente.
Okay, and if I can have your thoughts about tonight's transportation forum.
Well, I don't like Alternative 13. I think that trying to put a new highway through very high-end existing residential subdivisions in San Clemente, in fact, going right through this church we stand in tonight, is a very poorly thought-out solution, so I'd ask that you remove that from your list of alternatives. Also, Alternative 14, I'm not understanding why that is pushing straight through an existing state park with a whole trail system that's well mapped out, heavily used. I guess I'd wonder why you wouldn't look for a path of lesser resistance through the Marine base, since you'll have to negotiate with them anyways. And then I've always wondered how the toll roads were built for a single mode of use, only providing for vehicular traffic, given that California has a state law for complete streets and Caltrans has a design directive that states that new facilities shall be constructed with bicycle and pedestrian facilities included in those systems. And as I drive around Orange County, I don't see anything on the 73 or the 241 or the 133, and these are beautiful corridors that could be used by all people, except for currently they can only be used by people in their automobiles. So I would ask that the toll roads take a look at their system and see how they can incorporate other modes of use, because I think that would garner a lot more support for you. I think you're going to have a very tough sell, and I think you need all the supporters you can get.
Are there any particular alignments that you would like to see? I know you said you didn't want to see 13 goes through San Clemente. You don't want to see the one that goes through the state park. Any alignments that you think might work?
I've only seen the two in the workshops I've gone to tonight, but anything, in order for me to support any alignment, it'll need to show that it has bicycle and pedestrian and potentially equestrian facilities. There's lots of horse users in Orange County.
Okay. First, let me get your name and what city you're from.
Richard Bent. Do I look at you or the
You just
camera?
look at me. Yeah,
Okay. Richard Bent, Laguna Niguel, California.
Okay. And what do you think about the transportation forum that you're at tonight?
This is really great. I do think this is a very positive experience and gives the community a chance to give their feedback to the transportation issues that we have in the county.
And you had a chance to look at some of the solutions, some of the ideas that the public's come up with. Are there any you really like or any you really don't like?
Well, I think I like most of them. I've heard about a few other ideas that weren't listed,
Okay.
and those are some of the things I'd like to perhaps mention.
Sure.
Well, first off, I feel like until we get some of the infrastructure issues solved and the building issues solved, perhaps there should be a moratorium on building for a while until the transportation issues get solved in a way that's acceptable to the community. So I'll just say that at the outset. Number two, I am a member of the National Association of Railroad Passengers, and with that we've studied a lot of areas around the state and around the country. And one of the items that's missing, I think, from the Orange County Transportation Plan is light rail. It doesn't exist anywhere, and it doesn't seem like there's really any plans to implement it, but yet we've seen it work in San Diego, we've seen it work in Los Angeles. The capacities are over what they estimated, and they're a huge success. And why Orange County hasn't considered those, I don't know, but there's some obvious places. One would be the Laguna Niguel train station and heading south to help relieve some of the arterial congestion along the 5. Also up north from Irvine, what is not connected is Orange County Airport, the Irvine train station, and then Laguna Niguel and San Juan Capistrano. And of course, I think also light rail options between San Juan Capistrano and San Clemente would be a great addition to the transportation plan.
Would that be in addition to the Amtrak that runs down there? Would it be co-located
Yes,
with those?
it could be located and take up some of the same right-of-way, but I think there's areas that have median strips such as Crown Valley Parkway where it could be utilized to get people down to the ocean and back. I was thinking that I think the Laguna Niguel train station down Crown Valley to Dana Point, for instance, would be a great place for a light rail addition.
First, let me get your name and what city you're from.
Jill Richardson, Dana Point.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about your thoughts about the transportation forum tonight.
I think it was a great event. I loved the advertising for it. I heard it on the radio ads for Pandora, so I thought that was very effective. And I think it was a great job. I wish that more and more people would participate. That would be my only thing.
Okay. And what are your thoughts? You had a chance, I'm sure, to go around and take a look at a lot of the different alternatives. Are there any that you like, any that you don't like, any new ones that you might have?
Well, I missed it the first forum, so I didn't see. I am just seeing the ideas, and I did like many of them. I think to me the ones that appealed to me the most are implementing mass transportation. Okay. I think that needs to be a priority right at the start of development for anything. And I also think that with seeing the development that is projected off of Ortega and at the various parts, I think that mass transportation really does need to be considered much more aggressively. And we have the weather for it, so why not? I also think that I know that the toll roads also have mass transportation in the middle, or opportunity for that. So I'm for anything to support that and to take existing roads that we have and use those to increase and try to make those more manageable. Building new roads, I think, or connecting roads, I guess I'm in agreement with. But anything dealing with the environment and our nature, particularly up in the Indian land area, I think would not work. We really have only one planet and one Earth, and if we destroy that, then that would be good. So those are my thoughts.
Okay, are there any kind of mass transit in particular that you like? I mean, do you like light rail over buses or trains or monorails or subways or any particular thing?
I just think that subways, railways, something, I think that buses do connect people, but I find that if you connected, for instance, on the railway from San Diego to LAX, and of course Orange County would be affected with that, just having that connection of that railway would make so many people so much more easier to get to LA or even to get to San Diego in that sense. So I'm in support of, I guess, just more eco-friendly type of transportation, and I also think that we should be doing that now. I think that it's a huge priority. I also think biking is a really big priority too. So that's just me. And we have the weather again. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. Let me get your name and what city you're from.
Kevin Nelson. I'm from San Clemente.
Okay. And your thoughts about tonight's transportation forum?
I think it's a nicely organized piece. I commend your agency for that. I think the idea of breaking things up and really letting people interrelate and small presentations happen is good. Go ahead.
So your thoughts about any ideas that you like or don't like, or any new ideas that you might have?
From my standpoint, I think that I think in a larger context. I'm not interested that much in the details of 2% increase in traffic flow or 5% or what have you. I think that for me, I'm much more interested in the balance, the larger context of society, about what we do about the concept of endless growth, of endless use of resources such as water and open space and wilderness. And I think that this project, and to some extent TCA, serves those interests. And I think that we as a society and our leaders need to shift, at least integrate the non-financial, non-convenience, non-consumer ideas, really integrate them and give them a much higher level of priority, because they are very subtle ideas right now. Those kinds of things, such as does the state and the Southwest have water? Those things are shrugged off pretty easily right now, but they are real. Open space, nature is real. Water resources are real. There's just today there was an article about 15% of farming has been cut back in the San Joaquin Valley because the water isn't there. That water, if there wasn't so much urban growth, maybe that cut back to those farmers would only be 3 or 5% instead of 15. Let's say it wouldn't be zero, right? And I think that this era of limits, of environmental limits, is so new across the world, but it's certainly new to us in California, since water rationing is fairly new. That we haven't figured out how to deal with it. We don't have the laws, we don't have the regulations quite yet to say to deal with this new era of limits, which is flashing at least yellow in terms of traffic, yellow lights on us all. And I would like to see some system and some regulations, new laws, or at least an integration of those concepts, hardcore, not just shrugged aside as part of a secret document where you say it's a negative mitigation, or you do a mitigation here and there, and then the issue is off the table. That's irresponsible when you know that these things are here. There's, in terms of water, the Interior Department, university studies, specialists in water are saying the Southwest does not have the water for endless growth. It's not there because of climate change, because of all these draws on it, and they just need to be dealt with and say, let's slow down. At the very least, I think that proposals for speeding up and enabling more development, when development is part of the problem, it might not be the whole problem, but when those are part of the problem, to back off and say, let's just pull this back for 10 years. Let's just evaluate where we are as a society now. And that's not impossible. That's responsible. These decisions do not need to be made tomorrow, right? These are long-term things. And so we should start looking at them over the much longer term, not just 5 or 10 years like you're planning here, but 20, 30, 40, 50 years. That's where I think the new level of action is in humankind, is what are we doing 50 years, 100 years from now? What do things look like then? And that kind of planning is difficult and subtle and shady and everything, but that will yield the greatest benefit, because I don't think we're thinking of the people who are what life will be like 50 years or 100 years from now. And it will be just as real as we stand here right now, exactly as real, right? Where they will be either suffering from our decisions or benefiting from our decisions, just like we stand now. And that needs to be just made much more concrete, in my opinion.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Okay. Thanks for your time. Get your name and what city you're from.
My name is Mario Bica, and I'm from Cypress, California.
Okay. And tell me a little bit about what you think of tonight's transportation forum.
I was really pleased that there is a forum like this. I wish I was at the previous forum. There are a number of suggestions that I have. So, for instance, on the menu of recommendations 13 and 14, number 13 could be a no-brainer, but somehow number 13 is right in the middle of some of the green area, the reserve area. Move it over to the left if you were to take a relationship via the map. Move it slightly to the left. You're out of the reserve area. You'll save time on all the environmental BS that you have to worry about with this stuff. It just doesn't make any sense in some cases. Another thing that I'd like to see is who are the voted officials that are part of the group that makes the recommendations, because we see a rehashing of a lot of old ideas that were voted down, and in order to get this up and running, the friend that I came with, his name is Mark Davis. The friend that I came with, he has all sorts of great ideas. He would love to share them with some voted officials, some people that are making recommendations.
I'm sure he comes over and does a video.
I'm trying to, yeah. So another thing is the 1 through 5, the non-construction of freeways. I thought that was really good. I'd like to add to that with carpool lanes. Currently, you can get in and out of carpool lanes pretty easily. I highly recommend that it takes a minimum of 5 exits before you can exit a carpool lane. Because each time you go in and out of a carpool lane, or a car goes from the right lane all the way to the left lane, those are all transactions that cost the traffic flow. Those are all transactions that pay a huge price on the traffic flow, and I think that would help as well. I really liked the forum. I thought it was great, and I like the idea of building out the bike areas for light rail, and yeah, it's good stuff.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Okay. Let me get your name and what city you're from.
Ava O'Keefe, and I'm from San Clemente, California.
Okay. And can I get your thoughts about tonight's transportation forum?
Well, it was interesting, enlightening, yes, and informative.
Any ideas that you particularly like or particularly dislike?
I particularly dislike Idea 13. It will impact my community tremendously. It will impact all the hiking trails, all the beautiful open trails. It impacts, the most one of the most upscale neighborhoods in San Clemente. Beautiful homes, and really, it's going to cut the town in two. And even this building over here would be impacted. So I think it's a terrible idea. Idea 14 is maybe less terrible, but I'm opposed to both the idea, number 13 and number 14. I think what you guys should do is make the 73 free. And, I actually use the 73 every single day of my life. I work in Costa Mesa. I spend $11 a day. Just make it free. It's always empty. And that will give you probably a better bang for your buck and less environmental impact than having a new freeway that is actually not really going to alleviate much traffic because of what, where it's coming from the 241. I just think that both ideas are really not good for our city and not good for the environment.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Anything else you want to say? Or is that it?
No, I think thank you, and I hope you guys don't do it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Okay. Let me get your name and what city you're from.
Jackson Hinkle. I'm from San Clemente.
Okay. And tell me what you think about tonight's forum.
Well, being an environmental activist and a local here and a surfer and everything, it really upsets me, especially ideas 8 and 14, which are going to be cutting directly through the San Mateo watershed. And I almost didn't come tonight because I have an environmental test tomorrow, like in my AP environmental class. So one of the things that we're learning about is interspecific competition, which is where species have to compete for limited amount of resources. So when you cut through habitats like the San Mateo watershed, that's causing there to be a lack of resources, lack of habitats that animals would have been occupying and stuff. So by that, interspecific competitions occurring in areas like Idea 14 and 8. And that eventually leads to a decrease in species and biodiversity, which impacts our ecosystems. And then an example of this would be like the California brown pelican, which a couple years ago was going extinct. It was on the endangered species list. And since then it's revived due to preservation of areas such as the San Mateo watershed and Channel Islands, the Channel Islands. So they really are like important keystone species in the environment because they eat fish in our oceans, and they just help out our ecosystems, and they serve as prey and predators. Without them being able to live in the places they normally live because we're cutting through their habitats and stuff, it's just a horrible thing, and it'll lead to the destruction of our environment.
Any solutions that you have for transportation, or you just don't want those?
Bikes are good. I like bikes a lot. Yeah, my sister grew up in Boulder, or she went to school in Boulder, and the bike community there is just like insane. So, yeah.
Cool. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Samuel Goldstein, Laguna Beach, California. My subject is make the 73 toll road a freeway sooner, not later. Consider using the 73 right-of-way for new transportation alternatives. Find more creative solutions for lessening congestion and increasing mobility. The original idea and promise of the 73 involved a two-part public benefit. First, this privately financed and user-funded toll road would become a freeway in 30 years. Second, other roads, meanwhile, would be less congested if drivers willing to pay would save time and would use the 73. Well, it's been 25 years since the 73 was built for $800 million, but it'll be another 34 years, not until 2050, before the debt, now $2.2 billion, is paid off and the tolls are lifted. The motoring public should not have to wait so long, more than twice as long as promised. The upshot is that the tolls on the 73 have reached levels that commuters find prohibitive. Congestion has increased on the 5, the 405, and especially Pacific Coast Highway in South County along the San Joaquin corridor. The 73 toll road remains unclogged virtually 24/7. Making better use of the 73 surplus capacity and also better use of its generous right-of-way can lessen congestion and increase mobility in South County. There is room for rapid bus and carpool lanes, also possibly emerging technologies such as the Hyperloop from Elon Musk. The rub is the debt. The 73 bondholders. The county leadership pursue creative solutions. It starts with intention to end this inequity and inefficiency. The 73 is open, often empty, not free. It is the most of the motoring public that pays the real price in lost time and productivity. There are funds in Measure M's extension and in other accessible funding sources set aside for rail and other alternatives, such as ride sharing and rapid bus service. Normally, acquiring right-of-way for these is very expensive. $2.2 billion would buy a lot of right-of-way here. Finally, consider extending the 57, mostly over Santa Ana flood channel, all the way to the 73, which would effectively link North and South County and take pressure off the 55. Maybe some of the 73 debt could be rolled over into the financing of the 57 extension as a toll road. The original notion was to get publicly beneficial roads built with private money. That has been done. Let's find a way to retire the debt on a timetable closer to the original plan. Make the 73 a freeway and make smart use of 73 right-of-way, which is now grossly underutilized asset. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Sam. Let me get your name and what city you're from.
Billy Freed, Laguna Niguel.
Okay, and your thoughts about tonight's transportation forum?
Well, I was disappointed because I don't feel that adding more highways, more cement, desecrating more open space, widening streets is the answer to a growing population in Orange County. It will just bring more people and more congestion. Cities around the world have discovered if you decrease the amount of cars and access and roads, you actually create a better quality of life. I only saw two things that were about bicycles and about transportation hubs, and I would like to see Orange County develop a better understanding of how bike shares and self-driving cars and electric cars and bike share, auto shares like they have in many other companies can actually relieve the traffic problems that we have. There's no studies, we don't understand in 2035 what the population will be here, but certainly if we build more roads, it invites more development, and more development means more people. We don't have the water, we don't have the resources, we need to control the amount of growth that we have. And I don't understand why we're talking about expanding the 405 or the 5 freeway when we have an unused freeway known as the 73, the toll road, that is parallel to it, that should be made free. Instead of $7 to use a 10-mile road, it's empty right now, and all of our money should be going to pay that bond off now, so they could put that road to use and relieve the congestion that's on the 405 without the interruptions that would be caused by having to build more lanes.
Okay, perfect. Let's get your name and the city you're from.
I'm Nate Bunce, and I'm from San Clemente.
Okay, and your thoughts about tonight's transportation?
I think it was pretty bad. I think 8 and 14 go right through an environmental conservatory. It's ruining the environment. It's hurting our city. It's taking away our respect and our right to keep it, conserved and everything. This went to Supreme Court. You lost. You lost big time. And I don't think it needs to be gone through again. I think you guys just gotta get out of our town. We've been through this, we've talked about it, we've given you ideas. Our ideas were not 8 and 14, even though you say that. Our entire town is opposed to it, and that's it.
Any transportation solutions, anything you think we should do?
I think we should improve our sustainability with our bikes, including bike lanes and bike parking. Maybe add some community, mopeds or something. I saw in one of the diagrams, and more frequent buses and bus stops. That's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Nate. Okay, let me get your name and the city you're from.
I'm Josh Green. I live in San Clemente.
You don't need to lean down.
Okay. I'm Josh Green. I live in San Clemente, California.
Okay. Tell me what you think about tonight's transportation forum.
So I'm sure you've heard many different things from many people. I've only been living in San Clemente since 2009, so I was not here during the original battle for or against the toll road. But I will say from my experiences, I've traveled to China, and in China, I learned that they have designated times where people can't use the highway on certain days of the week because the congestion there is so bad due to high population density. And I feel as though, eventually one day we'll reach their population. But regardless, congestion is definitely a problem, and it's something that we need to be looking at. But I think that the ecological concerns outweigh the pros of constructing new infrastructure. Yeah.
Okay, so any solutions that you can think of? Anything that can be done, or you just don't want anything?
I think we start promoting more use of public transportation, even promoting use of electric cars. And as we progress towards new technologies, I know Tesla is already working on self-automated cars that will reduce accidents. There's an accident every day, and so something like that is always causing slowdowns on our highways. And I think if we free less accidents, that's something that's really going to speed up our highways. As far as construction goes, we really need to be looking to build something that is not going to have an instant or long-term effect on our ecosystems, because they will be here longer than we will. And our ecological footprint on our Earth is more impactful by building these highways. And we do not own this land. It's only our temporary home before we leave.
All right, cool. Thanks a lot, Josh. I appreciate it.